Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the fifth round of the Pro Touring Esports Championship here this season from Knockhill. As we get to the halfway stage, we've got 9 rounds this season, and so roughly halfway through tonight, we are officially at the halfway distance. And what a round it was! 2 weeks to go for Rapper Racing, and more importantly, perhaps Tom Stevens, who won the first 2 races, the first driver this season, indeed, to win the first 2 races of an evening. And Rapper Racing cleaned up with Luke Mitchell taking the 3rd race, as you've just seen there as well. In my opinion, the most chaotic and enjoyable round of the season so far from Silverstone National last week. But we come to Knockhill this week, which could be just as exciting. Let's wait and see. Myself, Ian O'Leary, and Ashley Demon in commentary for you once again this afternoon with Rich Weverill behind the cameras as always. Ash, it's good to be back alongside you. I personally enjoyed Silverstone National the most out of any circuit we've had so far this season. This is likely to be something a little bit different, although should still be exciting as we turn to the unusual circuit of Knockhill.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, happy to be here and always a pleasure. But yeah, Silverstone last time out really was, I think, the circuit that has provided the most so far this season. And you mentioned there, Ewan, as well, chaos, I think, sprinkled in, of course. And that normally does provide brilliant entertainment and action on a circuit. And, well, we come to Knockhill this week, the most northern circuit on our calendar, of course, the only one situated in Scotland. And I think chaos, it could provide, once again, another spectacle, particularly as you see Trebek there traversing that chicane, and 9 times out of 10 you get a little bit of airtime. So sprinkle that in amongst this fantastic field and tight-knit racing, and well, chaos should ensue.
Indeed, as you mentioned, the only Scottish round of this championship. We are very far north indeed, here, even north of the town or city of Dunfermline. Is it a city? Or I don't know.
I think it's a town.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a town. Anyway, just north of there, which is north of Edinburgh and Glasgow, which many of us have been to. And it's, yeah, very long way north. Very cold a lot of the year. I wouldn't like to be there in real life right now, put it that way, in January. But we don't have such to worry about here in the session. In fact, the track temperatures are very balmy, 37 degrees at the moment in this qualifying session. I can't imagine that is the case in the real world at the moment. We'll talk a little bit more about the layout and indeed its challenges, which are not just left and right, but indeed up and down here at this venue. But let's have a little look and a talk about the championship standings, because Matt Richards is still leading, but he had his worst round yet 2 weeks ago at Silverstone. 9th place in race 1, and with some penalty points actually getting negative points. That will be dropped, of course. Same goes for his 14th place finish in the 3rd race. So he's got some really low drop scores now in comparison to what he had going into that round. Tom Stevens is now 2nd, just in front of Fraser Hart, and then a bit of a gap back to the rest. Callum Wilson and Jordan Richardson rounding out the top 5. Chris Crevitt is next ahead of Luke Mitchell. Sidovire still hasn't had a podium somehow. He's in 8th place and currently is the trophy leader. Alan Axon and Alessandro Cappa then round out the top 10. There's some real gaps there starting to apply. Power Max Racing still leading in the team standings ahead of Brabham Motorsport, but the team to gain from last round was Rapper Racing. Up now, still 3rd, but a lot closer, within 100 points, in fact, of PMR at the front of the field. SimSport UK and Unlimited Esports are still 4th and 5th in the team's standings. 2 weeks ago was very, very key, I think, Ash, for the championship standings. Matt Richards did not have a good round. If he's not able to drop it, he would have scored 14 points from the 3 races. To give you an idea, the maximum score is 63. So for a championship leader, less than a quarter of the points available to him. And now we haven't seen anybody maxed out this season, and I doubt we will do. But nevertheless, that's a very low score. And you know, as I say, he's going to drop 2 of those scores, so it doesn't matter so much in as far as his lead is concerned right now. In fact, he comes into today with a very similar lead as he came into the last round. However, he cannot afford bad races now, because his drop scores now consist of a 3 points finish, a -1 points finish, and another -1 points finish. So that's what you'd score if one became a drop score. All of a sudden, the pressure is really on Matt Richards now.
It certainly is, and it's kind of swung in the favour then of the next person on that championship, which is Tom Stevens. He missed the first round at Donington, so there's his 3 drop scores right there, no points. But it has now levelled the playing field, you could argue, with Matt Richards from Silverstone, because these 3 drop scores, of course 2 of them being minus points, you can't have that of course, but the only one that is still counting is 3 points where he finished 13th in Donington in the first round. So pretty much negated that entire missed session there from Tom Stevens. So championship really is on for him, of course, providing they are turning up to every single race to the end of the season now. But I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see how that, unfolds as we get deeper into this. You've mentioned already, Ewan, we're over the halfway mark now, so everything is really going to start counting as we start getting into the crunch point of the season, where we do begin to see how are things fully shaping out, who is really in contention for that championship. Of course, at the moment you are looking still Matt Richards' favourite, but Tom Stevens, Fraser Hart, that top 5, really that top 6 even, because Chris Crevette on a similar points to Jordan Richardson, they're all in that fight and in that hunt. They just need those good positions and scores to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. As we have a look around the field, Darren Wright is one of the drivers on the board here today on the circuit. Hasn't scored too many points so far, just the 4 from the opening rounds of this championship. Only top 15, of course, get points in this series, so you get the likes of 24 drivers in the field here tonight. We do often get over 20, and that does make it difficult to score points for those who are not the likes of Matt Richards up towards the front. Tom Stevens currently 3rd place in this session at the moment. Grevett goes fastest in the first sector right now. I think maybe we're sleeping on it a little bit here. Fraser Hart in the 3rd position in this championship at the moment. His worst scores at the moment, a 7th place, a 4th place with penalty points, so effectively a 9th place, and another 9th place finish. So if he finishes lower than 7th, all of a sudden he's taking drop rounds, and he's going quite quickly at the moment as well, by the way, as he comes up towards the line in a moment. Purple middle sector, Cedar Vire, his teammate, moves up to 3rd place to see where Brabham Motorsport are going to be after these couple of moments, because Fraser Hart looking good in this lap at the moment, and he does go to the top. And as I say, I think he's one to watch in this championship even now. Even though he lost a position in the last round, I think he's in a strong position, because he is the only one of the top 3 who's got some semblance of points to fall back on.
Yeah, it certainly does. I would argue Callum Wilson is in a similar situation. He does have a point scoring of 14th and 12th, which is only 2 and 4 points, and he has got a did not start. That's all from Silverstone last time out, we should mention as well. But equally, he's also a very quick, capable driver, and we can see him score some really good points. So I wouldn't rule that top 6 out at all at this point. But yeah, Fraser Hart certainly in a stronger position, you could argue. And it will all come down to how these next few rounds unfold to see what they can gain and capitalise, shall we say. But yeah, currently provisional pole for Hart, which is going to be fantastic news for him. I think we should also mention here, Ewan, maybe sort of thinking about the actual race number 1 itself. We've still got the ballast, of course, to be put back into certain drivers' cars, and I can give you the rundown as well for that. We've got Mitchell, Richardson, Axon, Hyde, and Weyer are going to be your cars in that order, I should say, 50 down to 10. So interesting to see where they can stick their car in qualifying here, and then of course they'll have that weight added back on. So let's see how they can fight their way through the field.
Yeah, no one in the top 4 in the championship with weight on board at the first race of the day, which I don't think has happened so far this season. So yeah, a bit of new territory for us there. Straight fight between the top contenders. At the moment, Tom Stevens is on pole ahead of Fraser Hart and then Matt Richards. And let's just briefly touch on this racetrack as well, with just 90 seconds to go or so in this qualifying session. Nobody looking like they're imminently going to improve towards the front. The lefts and rights, of course, fine at Knockhill. I mean, this circuit does look a little bit like a tooth, to be honest, that's come out, but it's the up and downs really that get this circuit its name. As you go over the top of the hill through turn 1 and steeply back downwards, the final turn is really quite steep, and you don't quite realise it as you're getting on the power. It's I think in the UK the circuit with the most elevation. I don't think I'm forgetting any. It's quite a remarkable racetrack.
I think only Cadwell Park may come under that bracket with a lot of elevation. I can just picture it going up into the forest, but I can't tell you the actual numbers if you like, Ewan, for here at Knockhill. I believe it's about 121 feet from the highest point to the lowest point. Yes, it is 37 meters, depending on how you want it. The other thing I will mention is the width, only 10 meters or 33 feet, quite narrow.
Yes, it is. It is quite narrow. Got to remember that's over the course of one lap here, but it's about 3 times shorter than a lap of somewhere like Spa, which I think has got about 100 meters of elevation change a lap, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a bit less than that. So it's actually more elevation than Spa per kilometre. But anyway, now we're getting too complicated for me. Matt Richards just goes wide there into the gravel, and there's no time for him to get to the end of the lap. So despite a personal best in the first sector, he's not going to go any quicker. And the Scott Mitchell-Mom's Raffle Racing teammate Tom Stevens looks like he's going to take pole here. Sido Vaya has gone 2 personal best though in the first 2 sectors. He's the only one of the top 6 or so to do that at the moment. In fact, top 8 indeed to do that. Will he go any quicker here? He's got less than a tenth to make up over Tom Stevens to get onto the pole here. He goes over the line. Sidovai is going to stay where he is. So is Scott Mitchell-Mom. I think everybody has gone as quick as they can early in this session, and it's going to stay as it is. And Tom Stevens, great run of form, is going to continue here.
Yeah, fantastic from him there. Williams improving there in the middle sector, still out on circuit, we should say as well. I think that's Luke Mitchell has just come in. Williams is, I believe, they're still on a lap, so could still see a final improvement here. This is Alan Smith, not the best in the first sector, but maybe not a million miles off. And let's see what he can do. Oh, it's not on brilliant middle sector either from him. He's going all right pace. Maybe there's still some time to be found here around the final corner up to the line. Let's see where Smith can put that car for one final time.
I think he's coming in. Yeah. I mean, I'll be surprised if he managed to get over the lap in time to start his lap before the checkered flag flew. But there you go. That's the end of qualifying. And it's Tom Stevens who's taken pole. 57 thousandths of a second in the end in front of Fraser Hart. Matt Richards rounds off the top 3, also within a 10th. Chris Grevett, Cedar Vaya rounding out the top 5. Then Callum Wilson is over a 10th back. Luke Mitchell and Jordan Richardson not too far away. I think Richardson's the first in the field to actually have ballast on board, if I'm not mistaken. So that's quite a long way down. Or is it Vaya? It's Vaya, sorry, who's in 5th. But nevertheless, quite a long way back. For those to have ballast. Scott Mitchell-Mom and Jordan Hyde round out the top 10. 11th goes to Alan Smith, we just saw there. Stuart Rolfe and Colin Messina round out those just within a half second of the pole. Then it's Simon Tribeck and Kyle Benton round out the top 15. Darren Bright, 16th, ahead of Matthew Williams. Then Jaroslav Fides and Alan Axon within a second of pole. Dave Brewster rounds out the top 20. Fabian Michelon is in 21st in front of Olivia Krajnowska. Then it's Alexander Serema, and Alessandro Kappa didn't set a time there for whatever reason. The driver 10th place currently in the points standings. See there the slightly odd sight of some drivers actually on the pit surface where the pit lane is, and some of them seemingly coming from the back roads, the back garages there, coming through the countryside back onto the racetrack. It's such a small pit lane here, and thank goodness we don't have to have any pit stops in this race. Because it's a very, very small pit lane. That was a very small racetrack indeed as well. The drivers have got a few minutes in warm-up here just to get used to having other cars around them all over again and get used to just the size of this racetrack, which, as I say, is just something completely different to get your head around and unlike anything we're going to see for the rest of this season.
It is quite impressive in that sense that it is so small, and it still has, it's a big event, and it is a big event in Britain, at least the British touring cars, but even the superbikes around here, rather impressive, I should say. To clarify it with Alessandro Kappa, he was serving a qualifying ban, hence no lap time there, and of course starts right down at the back. But yeah, you can get an idea of like you said, there's not enough spots in the pit lane for every single car, so they have to start in the back roads. But God, could you imagine a pit stop? That'd be rather interesting how they'd figure that one out. Off you go around the back of the shed. But, yeah, thankfully they don't have to do that, and it is just a straight sprint to the finish.
I would like to find out what RF2 actually does with you there. If you don't have a space on the pit lane. You don't normally share boxes like you do in other sims, but anyway.
Good question.
Thankfully, we don't have to find out. Another thing, again, we're just talking so much about unusual things about this racetrack. Look at the start straight there. Some of them just over the crest of that hill. Some of them will have to actually get themselves up the hill there, as they're a lot further back in the pack. In fact, when there are a lot of cars in a race around here, they actually queue up round the final turn. and before they can get back going again. It's not a very long pit straight either, and there's not a flat bit of land to put it on either, really. So there's definitely an added advantage there to being up towards the front, getting the slightly more inviting slope on the way down in towards turn number 1, which generally isn't the problem because that's quite flowing. So is turn 2, but it gets narrow coming into 3, and that's when you hit the brakes steeply for the first time. They are all practicing their starts based on where they've qualified.
Interesting as well in that sort of respect, because you'd think you'd get a bit of a disadvantage really if you're queuing up round the corner of Taylor's, the final hairpin. But I mean, you know, you've got to make do with the space you've got, and of course if that's what you've got, you know, what else can you do? I suppose you should have done better in qualifying to be on the actual straight itself would be the first port of call, I would imagine, from the drivers. But either way, they are where they are. And of course, they'll try and improve, because in terms of the races round here, of course, we all know the format by now. If we don't, quick rundown, of course, race 1, where you finish, moves over into race number 2, top 5 take ballast. And then, of course, at the end of race 2, towards the latter stages, we'll spin the wheel to see how much of a reverse grid we'll pick up from 6 to 12. That could be the one where a bit of chaos is definitely sprinkled in. But equally, I'm trying to think where I was going with that, if I'm being honest. I completely forgot my train of thought, Ewan. But yeah, that's the layout of the races, and that's how they'll line up.
Yeah, that's how we'll go for tonight. So, first one coming up in just a moment. The session moves on, and drivers will get themselves onto the grid. Now there'll be a formation lap in a moment. Look at how closely packed up they are as well, getting towards the crest of that hill there. But again, it's Tom Stevens who will be on the pole here in front of Fraser Hart. Two of the main championship contenders, with Matt Stevens, I'm mashing names together. Matt Richards even in third position. And there they go, off and away, off on their formation lap. 24 drivers all doing so here from Knockhill this afternoon in the Pro Touring Esports Championship for round 5 from Knockhill. Short formation lap, of course, because this circuit isn't very long around Knockhill. Tom Stevens leads them around, and much like he did at Silverstone National, wonder how important it is for him to win race number 1 here this afternoon. He's got no weight on board. He's got the pole position, the run down in towards turn number 1, and he's been making up points in the championship over Matt Richards. He'd like to continue that with this race.
Certainly would do. I remember my point now, Ewan, just to redeem myself a little bit here. It was all to do with the fact that those races where you finish, you move over into the next. A lot of the drivers, I've asked them earlier like I normally do, a lot of them are saying it could be about survival tonight. So it's a case of not ruining race 1 for themselves and then moving that into race 2. Of course, race 2, you do have that little bit of leeway with the reverse grid should you're in that top sort of half, but still crucial nonetheless to get brilliant finishing results up and down as you always want, but equally here because it could cost you even more.
Here we go then. All drivers getting themselves onto the grid and ready to go from Knockhill. A few stragglers at the back, just getting themselves into position now. They all are at the background, but we're pretty much ready to go. We'd have to react to the lights as quick as the drivers here, I imagine. As they start pretty much right under the bridge. Let the cameras on in towards turn number 1. You can see them revving their engines now, that we are almost ready to go here from Knockhill in the Pro Touring Esports Championship for round 5. We are underway, and it's a decent launch from Stevens, who just gets a half length ahead of Fraser Hart in towards turn number 1. Richards in the background is going to keep third quite easily, but Fraser Hart goes around the outside and is on the inside for the next spot. We'll have to back away though, and that might allow Matt Richards to get into second place. It certainly allows Tom Stevens to keep the lead. What are they going to do over the chicane here? They've got to get into line, and they do. Richards in the end the one to back out, and Fraser Hart keeps second after all.
Oh, they're absolutely breathtaking watching them figure that out, all on the absolute edge at the same time, and thank God they did, because otherwise we could see some cars go absolutely flying. Look at them, so bunched together. I'm not surprised a couple are going through the gravel further back with the bunching of the pack, but Tom Stevens, it looks like he's got the getaway he wanted, and he's going to try and make way with it. Fraser Hart holding on to P2 currently. Matt Richards still very much hot pursuit.
Yep, he is in there as well. And fair play, Chris Grevitt is 2 in 4th position. Scott Mitchell-Marm, though, the one who's moved up most. He's up to 5th place. 4 places gained already. Reppa Racing are in great form at the moment, and there's 3 of them in the top 8 as things stand as well. And they're leading the race with Tom Stevens after getting the most points of any team throughout the Silverstone National round of this championship 2 weeks ago. They're having a fantastic time of things at the moment. The race settling in now, though. The front 4 are seemingly getting away from the field just a little bit early on.
Yeah, it seems that way. Entering into Taylor's, the final corner, hairpin. Probably the best overtaking opportunity of the circuit. This is Mitchell Marm then, a little bit further back up to 5th, and very much well climbing to that point. Or is it his teammate Mitchell? It was Mitchell, apologies. Same car, same livery, similar name, at least it starts the same anyway. Oh, I'll get there eventually. But either way, they're looking strong, as you said, Ewan. 3 of them in the top 8, and of course, following on from last time, really good results there. Wow.
Yeah, slide from Stevens there. That wasn't quite the right line as they really bomb over the curbs there. Fraser Hart closed in. Matt Richards did as well. Starting to leave Grevitt behind a little bit, but they're starting to just close in on one another here, are these 3 at the very front of the field, down into the final hairpin. And Stevens able to hang on to the lead, able to get away with that mistake, really. But really seemed to bobble over the turn 4 and 5 curves there coming through the chicane.
Certainly seemed that way. Under the bridge down towards turn number 1, Duffer's Dip. Well aptly named, I should mention, because you cannot see the road until you go over the dip itself, and then you really are just guessing where to place that car. This is a nice little tussle there going on between Luke Mitchell in 8th place. This is Callum Wilson trying to make way and get a move done, but you can see how that narrow circuit really makes it tricky.
There's another look down the inside from Wilson, but no chance to get through. Luke Mitchell won the 3rd race, don't forget, at Silverstone National 2 weeks ago, so it's going to be difficult for Mitchell to do much in this race with the ballast on board, therefore. Richardson, meantime, goes wide through the final turn, trying to get a run on Cedo Via, same as what Matt Richards is trying to do on Fraser Hart, and look at how close he is getting on the run down into turn 1. But Hart's getting the slipstream from Rich Stevens, and this is making it difficult to, for Matt Richards really in 3rd.
Yes, the other thing we always, I think, forget to mention, shall we say, but it's very much prevalent in this series, is the push to pass button, that little dose of battery that they can get. It's not really a big equaliser in this race. As a short circuit, the straights are not that long, you don't really get much of a benefit with it, and tyre wear really shouldn't be a factor in this, so it should be all guns are blazing till the checkered flag.
Absolutely. Down to the final turn. Wilson close enough for a dive on Mitchell into the final corner. He had to do it, and you've got to think that around the field at the moment, those who are struggling to make moves have got to just be aggressive and be brave and send it down the inside somewhere. Ideally, the final corner. Didn't work out for Wilson on that occasion, and he can defend quite well on the outside, but that's the kind of thing that's going to get you an overtake here.
Yeah, it's the thing with this circuit as well, you're lining it all up, so really you want to try and get close through this first part of the circuit, get as close as you dare to the guy in front of you, up under his bumper and rear wing, really. And then it is important to get a fantastic exit out of that right-hander of Clark onto this straight through Hislops and then into Taylor's, the final corner. This is the heaviest braking zone. The car is at its fastest, and that's where you're going to try and get a move on your rival.
Up towards the line again for these 4 leaders. Not that far away from the rest of the field, but sufficiently far enough away to be pleased with how this is going at the moment. Not crowding up behind Tom Stevens in the lead of this race, as they all go through turn 2. They're riding that red curve on the inside line, as they do up here through 4 and 5 as well. But Fraser Hart still close in behind, and a better run again out of 5 into 6, but not a big braking zone into this right-hander. It's this corner he needs a good exit out of, not on the way into, and he might well have it this time round. Wonder whether Tom Stevens feels like he needs to defend this time round for the first time. Into the hairpin. Fraser Hart looks on the inside, and it feels like that was a half attack, half defence of Matt Richards behind as well.
Yeah, so confident on the brakes, these guys, particularly at this sharp end. This is a nice onboard shot then we have here of Fraser Hart. This will give you a fantastic view of what these drivers will see as they venture over this dip, Duffus dip. Look at it, you can't see the road until you're there, right on it at the precipice, and even then through the next set of corners, super tight exit through turn 3 there of McIntyre, and then you're on another roller coaster again as you make your way up over the chicane here, bumping along as you then squirt your way down to Clark, that right-hander, back onto the final, the straight.
Down to the next straight, and a little bit of respite round it. Grevitt gets closer as well as these guys get on top of one another. You just get the feeling one little bit of side-by-side is going to throw a grenade into this group, and it's all just going to kick off here between these guys, but let's wait and see. At the moment, it's been relatively difficult to overtake, but not impossible. We just haven't seen those moves down the inside. In fact, Wilson has passed Mitchell, so he's showing Richards how it's done. Now he's waiting for his teammate to start making the moves up here.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to give props here to Mitchell Marm, currently 5th. He's climbed those 4 spots very early on, and I tell you, he's held his own there as well. He's got a nice little gap in front and behind. A bit of no man's land, you could say, but I think he'll be very happy with that result should he keep it to the checkered flag. This is a bit further back with Wilson then, just gained that 8th position ahead of his teammate Richardson, Smith, probably just showing him the way.
There are the two of them. Max Racing with cars all in the top 7, top 8 rather, and Rafa Racing now 3 cars in the top 9. So that battle, that tug of war between those teams continues. As down the hill, the leaders come again. That is Olivia Krajnowska, who is right in front of these guys, by the way. So a car about to go a lap down here, and maybe that's the catalyst in this group for something to happen, because so far it's been pretty difficult.
Yeah, it certainly could pan that way out, let's say that. I mean, they'll get the blue flag. I'd like to think that they're going to hurry up and jump out of the way, particularly for the leaders. But I mean, we've mentioned it already, narrow circuit, short circuit. It could be quite hard to really find a safe spot. I mean, your best bets are obviously down the straights, but it depends when you get caught up.
Yeah, absolutely. Onto the straights again, and look at Richards. He is very close in behind now, and he's looking to the outside line into turn 1. Can't get it done. Fraser Hart goes deep though. Maybe there's a move at turn 3 on the way here from Richards. No, he just doesn't want to be too aggressive at this stage. Krasnowska is right there though, as you can see in the top right of the screen. Tom Stevens has got a big overtake to make. It might be the only overtake he has to make in this race, but it's an important one, even if it is just to put a lap on a driver who is now pulling out of the way. Fair play. So Krasnowska's not going to play any role in this. Just gets out the way on the way towards the hairpin here, and it doesn't interrupt these leaders, but Richards might use it anyway. Here, Fraser Hart was caught sleeping there on the outside. He squeezes nicely though, and he keeps 2nd place.
It's so difficult, even with that corner being a nice hairpin. Of course, if you run it wide around the outside, you're carrying more momentum, but of course you've got a longer way to do it. If you dive it down the inside, you really need to make sure you're blocking almost the car you've just overtaken, and that is a job in and of itself. So of course Fraser Hart there, we saw a lunge from Richards, but had that momentum just to hang on to the spot, and of course the run down to turn 1 is short enough that the momentum he carried was enough.
Meantime, out of turn 6 they come again towards the hairpin. It's relentless, this circuit, isn't it? 50 seconds per lap, and you just get that overtaking chance again and again and again. Fraser Hart half defensive this time round. Mitchell's very close to Richardson, trying to retake that place into the final turn as well. I don't think he's quite close enough for a dive again though, so they'll stay as they are. Richards is constantly getting good runs up over the top of the hill here, and Matt Richards cannot get through on Fraser Hart this time, instead in towards turn 1, almost at halfway, and he's been probing, but he hasn't been able to find his way past.
I think it's down to the nature of turn 1. It's not a heavy enough braking zone to sort of send a lunge and try and get alongside. It really is a sweeping corner. Of course, the blind apex doesn't help it, so it really is a challenge to try and mount that attack after a brilliant run as cars off into the gravel after the chicane in the backdrop there. but we're still firmly fixed here because this is between Mitchell and it was Richardson at the time. Maybe there's an overtake going on. Jump back to the front.
Back to the front again. Stevens with a little bit of an advantage over the others. There's the side-by-side. Mitchell somehow has been able to get on terms with Richardson here and start to challenge him in these final couple of moments. These two very heavy with ballast, and Mitchell has got through. So overtaken by Wilson easily earlier on. Mitchell now through on Richardson as well. And seemingly the ballast is playing a big role for both of these two, but the driving skill, when they're both really heavy, driving skill is winning out there.
It's fantastic to see these guys really push the cars around this circuit. And yeah, it's such a challenging circuit, but I think it's one the drivers, they may love and hate it, a bit like Marmite, who knows, but I think the spectacle of it is next to none, I would argue. I mean, the undulations, of course, really is just fantastic. And of course, cars getting air at any point is always something to behold.
Well, absolutely. Something you don't get to see very often, anyway. That's for sure, and for good reason indeed as well. As these guys come into turn 3 again, which is seemingly getting closer to Fraser Hart. It's the crucial chicane though over the top of the hill, and he's just not quite got that right. Just like the lap we saw from him in qualifying actually there from Richards. Obviously he did get good laps in as well, but we saw the one where he was ending off in the gravel, and that was as a result of just going through the chicane slightly at the wrong angle. Now here comes Richards, having a look down the inside there into the final turn. Goes around the outside here instead, and maybe this is now the chance. Fraser Hart hasn't allowed him to keep that position very often, but he's now on the outside, and despite Stevens giving Hart the slipstream, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Fraser Hart's still on the inside for turn number 1, but Matt Richards round the outside is going to get there. Through turn 1, he seals the deal, and Matt Richards is up to second place.
Oh, wowee, what a spectacle. That was fantastic to behold, and 2 wheels there through turn number 1 for Kyle Benton. Really is something to see cars getting up on, well, sometimes off all fours, but on 2 wheels as well. Still really fantastic to see. But my word, Matt Richards, take a bow with that overtake. That was very hard fought for, and it really was something special.
Certainly was. Wow. Matt Richards is going to be setting his sights now on Tom Stevens, and it was obvious the way that Stevens gave the slipstream there to Hart to try and mitigate the pass and try and stop it from happening. There was no secrets there as to who he wanted to win that fight. He wants to keep Richards as far away as possible and try and close the gap on in the championship. As things stand, the gap will be down to 24 points. Stevens can't afford to lose this race from here though and let it turn around and get Richards to gain further points. He needs to hold on to this victory here, you think?
Oh, absolutely. These are going to be really crucial. He wants to try and make sure he can beat Richards at every opportunity. Of course, this could be the move. Oh, late dive to the inside for Stevens just to cover off Richards. Are we going to see a repeat? A little bit of wheel banging there for good measure as they come round the final corner, now over the line, and Fraser Hart getting back into the fray here. Stevens giving him the slipstream. Oh, they're almost at the grass.
Very, very close there. Hart was trying to get alongside, but Richards had just about enough room to cut across him. Will Hart dive down the inside anyway at the third corner? He doesn't. I said earlier on in this race that it just needed a catalyst, just something to get this battle going, and once it did, it was going to be on this race, and it certainly is. Richards the one who's animating it at the moment. There's other people catching on behind. We've got Mitchell Marm and Cedo Fire are not too far away here. Tom Stevens suddenly looking a bit at sea now and looking like he needs to defend hard from Matt Richards, who is going to have to dive from back here, and he's not going to from all that distance back, but all of a sudden he is challenging for this race lead like nobody's been able to manage so far with only 7 minutes to go.
Race back on, you could say, absolutely. This is Jordan Hyde defending. That was a dive to the inside there from the car in front. I think that was Messina. I think he got luckier with that one. That could have gone all sorts of wrong for him. And I think Hyde is going to lose out to Trebek on that one as well.
Yeah. It's all happening in a couple of groups now. Although a little bit further behind, it's a little bit more disorderly. front of the field, but you can say we've definitely got 6 in the group, I think. Here comes Richards again. He's diving down the inside again. This time into the final corner, and Tom Stevens holds firm on the outside line. If he's got a good enough run here, he should be clear by turn 1, and I think he will be. Fraser Hart starting to get some challenge from Chris Crevitt now as well, and so he's occupied. Meantime, Stevens pulls across the road, pulls in front of Richards, who's not having it. He's looking left and right now. He's on the outside again now, it's Richards. He can't get through. Oh, and nice defending there from Stevens as he didn't take the racing line through turn 3 there. He kept a tighter line, which stopped Richards from getting the run that he wanted. Now Fraser Hart's back in the game. What can he do there from third position and maybe inadvertently help out Tom Stevens?
Oh, these next 5 minutes are crucial for all of these drivers. That top 6, now nothing separates them. Wilson is only 2 seconds back. That was 3 1 lap ago. So we could even see 7 here fighting it out for those effectively podium spots should they make the ground up. But look how close this is. 5 minutes on the clock, counting down. I think anyone could still take this at this point. Who knows? It could be someone picking up the pieces, or has Tom Stevens got the nerve to hang on?
Well, let's see. It will be a remarkable defensive drive if he can. And don't forget, he's got to do it all again because the grid doesn't change for race 2 compared to where they finished in race 1. But he does get 50 kilograms of ballast on board, which is certainly going to hold him back compared to what you see here. He's got no weight on board. Finished the last race at Silverstone National Circuit in 10th position. Scored 44 points from that first previous round of the championship. Certainly much more than Matt Richards did. He's on the outside there, Richards in towards the final turn. And look at that, Stevens taking a tighter line again there, just to block Richards effectively. Block him from getting a good run. But he's still going to go for it here, is Matt Richards, surely, as they've got only just over 4 minutes to go. He doesn't know whether to go left or right. Into turn 1. It's late braking from Stevens. He goes in deep. Richards looking for the inside by turn 3. He's going to have that blocked as well. Stevens is on the inside and he's on a tight line again here. Fraser Hart just can't seem to get involved as Stevens' defence gets ever more desperate here.
This is shaping up to be something special from, I think, all of these drivers here. Richards even looking for it into the sweeper of Clark onto this straight. Still no way through for him. I would argue he's the fastest man out there on the circuit. Just can't unleash his full potential at the moment as Tom Stevens blocking him left, right, centre. It doesn't matter where he puts that car. Tom Stevens does seem to have an answer so far as more drivers trying to make up spots a bit further back there. Mitchell Marm having to keep an eye on his rearview mirror as well.
And Grevitt there got down the inside of Fraser Hart, who wanted to get a good run on the both of them, but he couldn't do it because Grevitt was alongside him. That will be 4 laps to go as they go over the line with about 3:30 remaining here. So I think it will be 4 laps. There's another lap car. I thought I saw a lap car just in the distance. I think that might have been a retirement or something. I don't know, but either way, they're not going to be affected by any of that from here on in. Richards to the outside line into turn 6 again. Stevens on the outside. He's taking really tight lines through these corners so that he can continue to block Richards on the exit. It's very smart defending at the moment from Tom Stevens, who's doing it again now. He wants to get Richards round his outside now, but is that going to be a fatal misunderstanding here because Richards has always had good runs on the outside through there. Fraser Hart still can't get involved to help him out. Stevens would absolutely love it if Fraser Hart could get alongside and get involved right now, but he can't. And Richards dives to the inside of turn 1. He's not done this all race to the moment. He just slides there. He tried to dive it, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't execute it once again. And Stevens still holds this lead.
Oh, the switch up and under there from Richards. Magnifique that was, and really unfortunate to be able to pull that off. Defending heavy once again is Stevens into Clark, this right-hander, the crucial corner that leads onto the railway or Hislops, the long sweeping straight here round the back into that tight hairpin of Taylor. There's no way by for Richards, and that's Grevitt down the inside of Fraser Hart. Is it going to be a drag for turn 1? I'm sure it will be. Grevitt still massively there. Who's going to be braver on the brakes into T1?
Well, it looks like Hart's going to have his nose in front here anyway, so he'll stay in front on that run in towards turn 1. Dear me, that was a big slide out sideways. So they're now coming to the right-hander of turn 3 again. Stevens with an easier lap that time round. Unsure as to how many laps there's going to be remaining here either. It's quite a lot around here, of course, and there's not long to go. Lap times at the moment for these guys approaching 52s because of the defending happening for Tom Stevens. He's continuing to hold this lead, though, in front of Matt Richards, who's now under pressure from Fraser Hart. This is the first time this has happened since Hart was displaced from second. Hart's on the outside line, and he's just about going to be run out there by Richards. He can't get round there, and much to Stevens' dismay, there's still going to be another lap left here. They've got enough time for 2 more.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. I mean, it depends how long Stevens can make this lap. Of course, it was very touch and go as they got to that line, so we may be talking about the final lap. We may see one more, and then that'll give another extra chance there for Matt Richards to try and take this lead then around the first race here at Knockhill this evening. Fraser Hart still in the chase. Gravett, Mitchell Marn, Weyer, nothing separated, and Wilson has also joined the fight here, so we got a top 7 battle on in the closing stages.
We absolutely have. We have started out with about 4 when it was earlier on, but the battle has continued on for so long that it is now indeed a 7 driver group over the line with mere seconds remaining, and we are going to squeeze in one more here from Knockhill. So look out for that over the course of these races. If it's a particularly slow one, we might be down a lap compared to the race that we're having at the moment. But to be fair, there's been a lot of defending through this race. How desperate is Richards going to get here, knowing that especially that he had a couple of points taken away from him for a couple of races 2 weeks ago? Surely he won't be too eager to lose more points after the race this time round. Stevens without the great run out of turn 6. He has to go on the defensive of Matt Richards, who's looking for that inside, but he's not been able to get it time and time again. Has he got the room to turn underneath Stevens here? He's got the room to get into the back of him. Stevens again defends, parking it on the apex, and he's going to take a magnificent victory here at Knockhill. It's his 3rd victory in the last 4 races. Tom Stevens making moves in the Pro Touring Esports Championship this season. He defends and holds on for the victory ahead of Matt Richards, who makes it up to 2nd. Scott Mitchell-Morn gets to 4th in the end. He gains 5 places into 4th position. A great drive from him as well.
I was going to say, he stole that at the final corner there under Gravett's nose. That was absolutely insane. He's getting pushed over the line there by the looks of it, and what we're being told in our ear, was that Alessandro Cappa and his teammate, I wonder, because Cappa there, he's climbed 9 positions and of course finished right behind Messina. Of course the teammates, I think that might have been what was going on.
Yeah, they were teammates there, just trying to help one another. Well, one trying to help the other. That's unusual in these races to see somebody not actually have enough fuel on board for their race, but there you go. That is the first race of the day, and in the end, it's Tom Stevens who wins for the 3rd time in the last 4 races, just in front of Matt Richards. Fraser Hart displays to 3rd place, and Scott Mitchell-Marm getting up to 4th right at the very end there. Chris Gravett rounds out the top 5. We see outside the top 5. Callum Wilson, Luke Mitchell was just outside that group. In fact, Wilson joined in late on. Jordan Richardson and then Alan Smith round out the top 10. Outside of that was Simon Tribeck, with Jordan Hyde, Darren Wright scoring more points for this championship. Colin Messina and Alessandro Cappa we saw going nose to tail over the line there, helping one another. They finish in the points. Cappa got a qualifying ban, by the way, so that's why he didn't take part in qualifying and indeed started from the back, but he's still got points. Alan Axon just outside of that with Dave Brewster, Alexander Starema, Matthew Williams and Stuart Rolfe, who round out the top 20. Then Jaroslav Fides, Fabian Michelon, who had a pit lane start for that race. Kyle Benton didn't get to the finish, and Olivia Krasnovska was 1 lap down, along with Michelon at the end of that race. I've got to say, for the first 10 minutes of that race or so, I was fearful as to how tonight might go, because there really wasn't too much going on in the first 10 minutes or so. However, it really did liven up towards the end of that race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, picked up. I mean, wow. That was absolutely spectacular. It was no Silverstone in the sense of the overtaking that was going on, but in terms of an art of defense, well, I think Tom Stevens might be writing his first volume of that, because he really did know where to place that car at every single opportunity, and what a defense it was to take that win. Fantastic drive from him, as well as the rest of that top 7 really were pushing it all the way to the finish line. I mean, fantastic. I mean, there's no other word for it. I think Paul in the YouTube chat, awesome racing, and I mean, you can't disagree with the man.
No, can't argue with that. It was a good opening race of the day. Still lots more to come, though. The battle still be applied for race 2, and I just wonder how this second race is going to go, because when we saw Luke Mitchell there, the winner of the last race from Silverstone National, he looked like he had 50 kilograms of ballast on board. Of course, he did, but I think it's really affecting the cars around here for whatever reason. And the same was going for Jordan Richardson, who had 40 kilograms. Now, the problem in the ballast race is always that the guys behind you have 10 kilograms less, so they're quite heavy too, and are not that much lighter than you. And effectively, it becomes a 10 kilogram penalty as you go down the line. But the difference between the first place and the sixth place driver is massive. I do wonder, though, whether those outside the top 5 can start to infiltrate the top 5 and, make a difference with that balance, because otherwise, I think it's going to be a race very similar to the one we just seen.
I feel like they absolutely could, to be honest. I mean, you saw Scott Mitchell-Malm there at the beginning. Of course, he had no ballast on his car for that first round. He jumped from 9th up to 5th on the first few corners. So really opportunistic start, you could argue. But I mean, once he got there, he really did not look back. He was able to hold his own in times, pacing the race out for himself. Of course, snuck an extra position there right at the death. So he'll be very happy with that. Of course, bit of weight on board now. I think he'll deal with it. And I think you could be looking at maybe, someone like Cedo Wire definitely could be a shout here for this one because of, like you say, the lap times, nothing in it. Now these fast guys have got that ballast on board. Let's see how it shakes it up, because I feel like this circuit could be the first time we see the ballast really have an effect.
Yeah, maybe. So far, I don't think it's made too much of a difference this season, if I'm honest, but maybe today will be a bit of a difference. Of course, the final race is a reverse grid race, and so there always is a difference there. And the guy that wins the second race often is a little bit at sea in the final one. And we saw that with Tom Stevens, to be fair, in the final race 2 weeks ago. Only 4 points scored for him because he got a couple of penalty points, but he finished in 10th, I think is the main point. And, that's okay. If you get the first 2 race wins, then that's absolutely okay. I think he's got to focus more on what's the gap to the likes of Richards and Hart. And in that race, he will have gained just a little bit on them. So the gap now in the championship, 24 points between Richards and Tom Stevens. And if you take just the last 4 races into equation, Tom Stevens winning it absolutely hands down over Matt Richards, who scored more points in that race, by the way, than he did in the entirety of 2 weeks ago's round at Silverstone National. So this is momentum for Tom Stevens, and it's continuing there with that first race.
I mean, ever since he's come back after that first round, I feel like momentum's been with him. He had one round at Croft where he finished 17th. I can't remember exactly what happened there, but of course no points scored. But other than that, he really has been sort of in that top 5 at a minimum. If not, he's winning the race. So I mean, Tom Stevens, Rafa Racing as well, we should also say, you mentioned it, really are on a charge. But I think that race there really proved it again. Of course, 2 cars in the top 4, so they really are closing the gap between Brabham Motorsport and Power Max Racing in that championship, and Tom Stevens, of course, doing the same in the drivers. So they really are on the move, and in a good way.
Still a couple of minutes left in warm-up, by the way. We did extend it so the drivers would come and talk to us, but they're still not interested. So I don't know what we need to do to get them to talk to us, but anyway, they're yeah. I was thinking I was going down the bribery route, to be honest, but anyway, they're still not joining us. I do understand it from a driver's point of view, because you do want to focus in on the next race, but most of them don't drive in the warm anyway, so I don't know why they can't come and chat to us, but never mind. They will be getting ready for race 2. Hopefully they will come at the end of the broadcast indeed and chat to us at the very finish, but they haven't done that yet either. So let's hope at the end that we'll get them. In any case, we've got a couple of extra minutes in the warm-up sessions here today, just to give the drivers a bit of chance to digest the opening race and get ready for the second one. I can see in the session at the moment, by the way, 25 drivers now, which is one more than what we had in the first race. So now we've got to play a game of spot the difference and figure out who is here that wasn't before in the previous session. And you realise that some people I just didn't notice who were in race one, clearly, because I think they're new, but they can't be. But in any case, it's a pretty packed field, and based on that first race, very glad to see that overtaking wasn't as difficult in the end as it turned out to look in the first 10 minutes. Going to be very interesting to see, though, whether Tom Stevens can do all that again, though, for another 22 minutes, but you get the feeling he's going to have to if he wants to go back-to-back like he did last round.
It's going to come down to the initial getaway off the line. I mean, he got what he needed there in the first race, but we've seen it before with drivers. I mean, I can think back to Matt Richards at Croft. Twice he got jumped at the start. Of course, a bit of a longer run to turn one, a bit of a heavier braking zone. But either way, we've seen it happen. The getaway is crucial, but I think even more so here because that overtake, although it is possible, the defending factor, but with the narrow circuit, it is still very tricky to make a move. So it's crucial to get that launch. Scott Mitchell-Marm clearly perfected it from the first round. Let's see if he can match that again. And Tom Stevens, he'll be hoping to just make the turn one still in P1.
Yep, indeed. Well, oh dear, yeah, Fabio Michelin's been put on pole, so we're gonna have to redo the session here in a moment. I think, therefore, we'll just throw to a quick break while we're sorting out the grid for race number 2, and after which, of course, we'll be back again, and hopefully the grid will be correct and we'll be ready to go for the ballast race here at Knockhill. Welcome back to Knockhill, where we're ready for race 2 now with the ballast applied, the grid set up correctly, and Tom Stevens indeed on the pole, about to pull away for the formation lap. Myself, Nalir, and Ashley Denman still with you in commentary tonight with Rich Werrell behind the cameras. As we mentioned, Ash, it's a big race for all of the guys at the front of the field. Can they stay at the front of the field with the ballast on board, or is that weight going to have more of an effect than what we've seen in some of the previous weeks?
Yeah, that's going to be the, I think, probably the talking point of this second race, to be fair, other than the racing itself, of course. But I really want to see, well, not necessarily want to, but it would be interesting and would like to see maybe someone different fight their way through, particularly with these guys with that extra weight over them.
I mean, if the second race is anything like the first, then we're in for some great entertainment nevertheless. One of those who moved through the field very efficiently in race 1, though, was Scott Mitchell-Marm, who stopped from 4th place for Rafa Racing in this one. But that 20 kilos is affecting him a little bit less than some of those on heavier weights. Then you just wonder whether he could bring a surprise here and maybe take a race victory. Scott Mitchell-Marm's all the way down in 14th in this championship, but to be fair to him, has missed 2 rounds of this series. So would be looking to win his first race of the season. Has already got a 2nd place finish at Thruxton in the reverse grid race. That by far his best first race result from a round. So the drivers at the back are getting themselves onto the grid and ready to go for race 2. Tom Stevens at the front of the field, just in front of Matt Richards on that front row. Then Fraser Hart and Scott Mitchell-Marm next in line. Another 22 minutes then. And we are underway from Knockhill. A decent start from Richards on the outside, and he was pointing towards Tom Stevens already. He's looking to take the lead in towards turn 1 here is Matt Richards. Outside line for the first part. Gets to the inside of the second. There's a big slide from Tom Stevens. He's lost the lead already. Although Steno Fire's spinning even further here. Steno Fire spins in front of the field. As Matt Richards is off the road, Tom Stevens may have had a hand in that, not sure. Oh, and Matt Richards is off with Fraser Hart. 2 of the championship contenders off the road together. Fraser Hart spins and goes all the way down to the back in the field. Meantime, Matt Richards is all the way down to 8th, but it could be worse as Simon Tribbett gets down his inside as well. What a start there for Stevens, who has got back into the lead after initially losing it, and with Matt Richards all the way down in 9th.
I mean, I've got my hand over my mouth for most of that, because I can't believe what we just witnessed there on the opening few corners. I mean, Mitchell-Marm gained a position on 2 wheels. We've had drivers off. We've had some crucial drivers off. We should mention, of course, we've already said there, Richards the big one, but even further down the order really are drivers losing out. Rafa Racing, though, the biggest victors. They're 1-2 as they make their way onto lap 2 here, and they've got 3 drivers in the top 5.
Yeah, they have had a great last couple of rounds, a great 2026 you could say. That's when the turning point was, the first round of 2026 back at the Silverstone National Circuit 2 weeks ago. But I'd need to see that first lap again for Tom Stevens. It was notable to me, though, that Matt Richards, as he defends here, by the way, from Alessandro Cappa, it was notable to me that Richards was off in the gravel there through turn 3. Now he's defending hard from Cappa, who he makes contact with. Didn't they make contact, I think, Silverstone National? I've got a vague memory of that 2 weeks ago. So they have got no love lost at the moment, those two.
No, certainly not, and I'm sure it will continue going on further and deeper into this race. They're still fighting just about into turn 1, but just about made it through one by one. By the time they got to the apex there, I think that was Jordan Hyde sliding his way through turn number 3. He's up into 7th position. He'll be rather happy at that as well. I think when we're looking at it there, I think it is mainly Matt Richards, of course, the biggest loser, unfortunately, in all of that. Everyone else does seem to have gained some spots. Cedar Vire, as you further down the order there, big time missing out. But, of course, that's what happens when you're facing the wrong direction through Duffus Dip and into Leslie turn number 2. But he is slowly climbing his way back.
Now, what do you do here if you're Scott Mitchell-Marm? Because he is currently behind Tom Stevens as Cappa and Richards get together again here. They're going to make contact again here if they're not careful. In towards turn 1. Cappa's round the outside, and that's a very good move. Richards did that to Fraser Hart in the first race. and Kappa's just gone round him here in race number 2. But yeah, this is getting desperate now for Matt Richards, because he's got 40 kilos of weight on board, and he's with all those without any weight on board, because he's had that incident. Not as bad as it will be for Fraser Hart, of course, who's already down to 22nd. He might not even get the reverse grid. Matt Richards has just got to hold on to as many places as possible and hope that it's a big reverse grid again.
I was going to say that's what he's going to be holding out for a hero, if you like, with that reverse grid, because if he can get right back to the front, then points are still going to be looking good in race number 3. But I think this race 2 here is going to be a bit of a write-off for him. He just needs to consolidate what he can and just maximise what he has, you know, what he's able to produce from that as well. But I mean, the field though, Ewan, it's closing up front here. Tom Stevens still leading. Mitchell Marm, he's got a lovely rear gunner there in Rafa Racing, so 1-2 for them still. Callum Wilson though, Jordan Richardson, that Power Max team, they're still right.
Oh,
Getting 2 wheels! Wow, that was impressive stuff to keep that under control. I thought he was going to roll it.
We saw this a little bit in practice before we came live, and in qualifying, and then briefly at the start of this race. Well, I don't know what happened, why people weren't going on 2 wheels so much in race 1, but for some reason, some of these curves around here really put the cars on 2 wheels. And we very nearly saw that in the extreme a couple of moments ago there. You've got to think, though, for Richardson and Wilson here, you know, Power Max Racing's team's championship lead is not under threat just yet, but the momentum that Rafa Racing have got, you've got to think these two, without any ballast on board, against those 2 out front who have got some on board, they've got to get in amongst those top 2 surely here in this race.
They do. They need to do that, because if they don't, then, like you say, the momentum that Rafa Racing have and the trajectory that both teams are currently looking at. I mean, Power Max Racing, you know, they've still been picking up solid points, so they're not in any threat and danger, as you've said. But I mean, the trajectory of Rafa is looking promising that they could close that gap. I mean, the points we saw earlier on in the broadcast, that they weren't 100% accurate, if I'm 100% accurate in saying that, but I think it was a bit closer than we have seen this evening. So if I take a quick look at the actual points tally itself, I think it's more closer to about the 70-point mark before this evening. That would have been closed down a little bit now as well.
Yeah, indeed. I remember it being about 70 points as well, but I don't know, maybe I misremember. But yeah, 70 points is around where it is. I mean, this is difficult. You know, this is difficult to close in when you consider a perfect weekend is less than that. It's actually a very big gap for Rafa Racing to catch up, and I don't actually think they can, to be honest, with the strength of Power Max Racing. But as we say, the momentum going the wrong way is something you absolutely don't want. Meantime, Luke Mitchell is on the move as well here. Fastest lap of the race so far, by the way, gone to Luke Mitchell. So there's another point as well. Not that matters to him too much individually. He's much more focused here on Callum Wilson just up in front of him, with Jordan Richardson starting to go up ahead. One is on the defensive there, Wilson, another on the attack here. Richardson right behind Mitchell Marm now.
Yeah, absolutely, and this top 5, this could be a bit of a repeat almost to race number 1. I would imagine they'll close up, as that was Smith going incredibly wide there in the backdrop. That's going to allow Hyde to close in on that gap, and Mitchell Marm there a little bit wide as well, so he'll have his review mirrors full now of Richardson's Power Max car, but not close enough to really get alongside. And we've now hit a little bit of the calm here, Ewan, before maybe another storm comes rolling in.
Yep, I'd imagine that is very much the calm before the storm. Matt Richards has seen off a 3-second gap, by the way, behind him here, so he's definitely in 10th. That gives him what would that be? A third chance? Quarter chance? Half chance? I don't know how the maths works there of being involved in the reverse grid, but anyway, it's from either 6th to 12th, so it's a 3 out of 7 chance, whatever that is. It's you know, less than half, less than what he'd like, but at least he's going to be involved in it somehow. It's actually on the back of Simon Trivek at the moment as well, 4 9th, so you wonder whether he might be able to make those odds just a little bit better for himself here in a couple of moments. In the background there is Fraser Hart, I think, trying to make up places on Stuart Rolfe this time, is it? Or is it Alexander Serema? I can't work out who he's just passed and who's behind. Oh, that might be the lap car, in fact. Getting through there, but either way, side by side, meantime, down to the bottom of the course here for Carl Benton, who's up to 11th. This, by the way, is the group as to why Matt Richards is so far up in front now. That's actually Sido Vire in the background, sorry, getting past Stuart Rolfe, not Fraser Hart. Matt Richards is gaining because of all this, and it is a wild group here. Benson up 13 places from the very back of the field into 11th.
On two wheels for good measure as well in doing so. This is Kappa having a look down the inside there at Jordan Hyde into Clark Corner. No way by for the moment. That's another trip through the gravel for Smith. He could be looking very much under threat, but this is going to be Kappa's chance then. Got that inside line into the final hairpin of Taylor's. Hyde going to have to take it the long way and try and carry as much momentum as he can. But I think that's Kappa's position there. Covers off Hyde rather nicely. 7th place for him.
Tom Stevens still leads this race in front of his teammate Scott Mitchell-Marr, then Richardson, Wilson and Mitchell, who round out the top 5 here. It's a nice uniform run across the board here for these 5. By the looks of things, not going too badly at all at the front of the field, which is, to be honest, just unfolding the same way as the first race did, i.e. the first 10 minutes calm, although to be fair the first lap wasn't. The rest of the race certainly not. Jordan Richardson wants to get involved here, and Mitchell-Marr now is on the defensive, and Richardson is going to go around the outside anyway. He'll get a lane there on the outside, I think, but no, Mitchell-Marr's got the exit here, and he's got a decision to make here. So has Tom Stevens. Are they going to put all the eggs in Tom Stevens' driver championship aspirations here and protect him in this race lead, or are they going to let Mitchell-Marr through and surely go on to win this race? If they had thought about this 10 minutes ago and let Mitchell-Marr straight through, he'd be seconds up the road by now and almost confirmed winner, I would say. But I think they're putting the eggs in Tom Stevens' driver championship aspirations at the moment, and Mitchell-Marr is defending on behalf of them.
I mean, I think that makes the most logical sense. That's Smith off again, really struggling. Kappa has found a way past him as well. He's up to 6th position, only 3 seconds as they all go wide there out of Clark. I mean, back to Stevens, Mitchell-Marr. They've also got Luke Mitchell there in the back of this train. So even if they do lose Mitchell-Marr from that 2nd spot, the points is still going to be rather strong for this team in this race by the looks of things. So I don't think they're doing the bad thing by prioritising Tom Stevens. If they get the win and keep P2, brilliant. If they don't keep P2 but keep the win, they're still scoring big points.
Absolutely. Matt Richards passed Jordan Hyde, meantime, for 8th place, so it's getting better and better for Matt Richards on his recovery drive. Here are his teammates trying to help out as well, but at the moment they aren't really getting in front of Tom Stevens in the way that would perhaps be ideal for their team leader, if I can call him that. Matt Richards, who is in 8th position at the moment, regaining from his incident earlier on with Fraser Hart, was the one that dropped him the positions, but also with Tom Stevens there, who got down the inside for turn 3. You have seen it on the opening lap. You can rewind, by the way, on the YouTube, watch it again if you want yourself, but as I have now, and I personally think Stevens was alongside there and was entitled to have a look down the inside. But I think Matt Richards may well have a different view, because it did definitely tip him sideways, definitely into the gravel and into the sphere of Fraser Hart, who he eventually made contact with and lost a lot of positions through.
It's funny, I did the exact same thing. It was going to be my next point as well, but my point was going to be about Gravett and Weyer. Of course, they've dropped right to the back of the order. Maybe we'll come back to that because the Power Max team are going head-to-head. Wilson and Richardson. Wilson getting ahead, but now this has allowed the door open for Mitchell then, and they're almost blocking each other as they find their way into Taylor's and the hairpin. I think this is Mitchell's position to keep here. Of course, Wilson's going to help his teammate, but I think it may all be in vain. Mitchell darts to the racing line and secures that P4. He's got to defend it here into turn 1, but I think that should be quite easy doing for him.
Luke Mitchell up to 4. We're even going to see a 1-2-3 here. That would be extraordinary. This is Sidovaya working his way back into the points again, and Fraser Hart is not too far away from getting into the points either, but I don't think he's going to benefit from any reverse grid here. Sidovaya just to the outside there, can't get through, and continues on in 15th. By the way, still the best placed of those who haven't been on the podium yet this season. The next best placed was Alessandro Kappa coming into tonight, but that's 40 points of a deficit down there. So Vaya holding that crown by a long way. I'm sure he'd rather, though, rather than leading that particular statistic, I think he'd rather get on the podium, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen in this race, nor in the final one, unless he can get lucky with the reverse grid and gain a few more places before that.
seem that way, does it? It's a shame because it's going to be a huge blow to the Brabham team as well, because it's both drivers, both their big point scoring drivers, you would say, both down. Way has just got into the points, Hart not so, only one position off, but they both need to climb a bit more. But in all of that, at the start, rewinding it back, it was Gravett that I think went into Fides as they made their way through turn number 1. That spun him round, and equally, for good measure, he sent himself off into the grass, which is what caused that chain reaction and all of that drama. So it'll, of course, go to Stewart's review, but just from a brief look at it, of course, you can all look at it yourselves as well. I think that may go Gravett's direction, but see what you guys think if you have a little look back at it and let us know.
Yeah, already getting some thoughts coming in. And thanks for pointing out, by the way, to Steve and to yourself, of course, Ash, as well, for pointing out Gravett went off. In all the madness, I didn't even notice he'd gone. Indeed, he has gone off the road and dropped a long way down. That's Chris Gravett, and that is a real shame. I just thought he looked one of the... Oh, no! Oh, goodness! I thought we were going to get a rollover there in towards turn 1. There goes Sid O'Vire down the inside. It was Matthew Williams there, who so nearly went over. How we've not seen somebody go over yet tonight is a bit of a miracle now, because Matthew Williams there was very close to the point of no return.
I feel like it's got to happen at some point, and I think that could be all saved for race number 3. Who knows? Still got the reverse grid to figure out in a few short moments' time, shall we say. But yeah, it's tantalisingly close. That's to this race now. We saw, I believe it was Mitchell earlier on, and now we've just seen Matthew Williams, and he was hoping for a good result here this evening, Williams. He did mention it in the chat earlier on. He does tend to do quite well here at Knockhill. Seemed to be one of his favourite circuits, at least. And the 16th position, one off the points. I don't know if he would consider that a success so far. Maybe not looking too bad for him.
No. Meantime, in the front group, Alessandro Cappa has joined. So he's got past Richards a long time ago, and now he's properly in this battle at the front of the field. Matt Richards is not that far away either from getting involved in it. I think there is a lot of guys in this group, perhaps everybody behind Tom Stevens, who could go quicker than Tom Stevens at the moment, but they're just not able to, as they've effectively got that double roadblock. Firstly, Mitchell Marr right behind Tom Stevens himself, who will also defend on his own, but also Luke Mitchell, who himself is going quite fast, to be fair. But if push comes to shove, then Mitchell will get on the defensive for his teammate as well.
Absolutely, I mean, no question about it, but it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. I think Richards will be definitely closing in. There's enough time on the clock, I would also mention as well, because the amount of laps you get here, of course, just under a minute, around the 50-second mark. So I believe it is, what, 26, 27 laps we saw race 1. I'd imagine it'll be pretty much the same again, so still plenty of time out there, and certainly could see this become a top 7 battle again.
Just as we had in race 1, although it only got there right at the very end. That's all we need, really, I think. It's always good to watch. This is further back in the pack. Fraser Hart's getting a couple of points on the board, but unfortunately, I feel like that since the new year, Fraser Hart's season has just unravelled a little bit here. His worst result so far this season, a ninth place finish. So that's 7 points. I think this is going to become a drop round, though. I can't see him getting to the ninth here. And yeah, I can't see him getting into a position where a reverse grid could benefit him either. He might be able to slip into 12th, and he might get lucky, but I can't see that happening at the moment. Side by side, meantime, for second and for fourth, Mitchell and Richardson more pressingly side by side, and Mitchell able to hang on. Wilson now is putting the most pressure on Mitchell, while we've seen for a long time, and I think it might not be too much of a difficult pass if Wilson were to get past Tom Stevens, or get in behind him, but he can't even get to him right now, and he's only got 5 minutes now left.
Well, I mean, this is the huge benefit of having your teammate as your rear gunner. You can use them to effectively back up the guys behind you, trying to take that away. So Tom Stevens really got a nice big advantage in that aspect, as that is going to be a move there. Further down the order, I believe that was Cedar Weyer getting past Alan Axon, and now Fraser Hart lining up to do the exact same thing. They are climbing quite quickly through the field here, the Brabham Motorsport team. I mean, they've certainly got the pace to do so, and yeah, like you say though, Ewan, I don't think it's going to be enough to get on that reverse grid pole, but we'll find out in just a moment.
We certainly will. move to the outside meantime for Hart, who will go around the outside the first part, inside the second. And Axon, I don't think he's going to have too much to answer with here as they run down the front straight. Hart is on the inside line after all. Darren Wright is just in behind them, by the way. Hart not quite far enough alongside, in fact, and so he can't quite get through. He's just looking to rescue whatever points he can here. Well, it's not going to count to his overall score. He'll get 7 added to his overall score here. It will still just provide that safety net later on in the season if he indeed requires it. You know, as I say, these points aren't going to be added to the total right now, but they could be later if he has an even worse result and a worse race than this one. So that's why he will continue to race on here. Meantime, here comes Mitchell outside of Callum Wilson, trying to distract effectively. Is it going to be a Rafa Racing 1-2-3? Not quite at the moment. Mitchell can't go around the outside there. He's going to look at the outside of turn 3 again. He's very fearful, I think, of going around the outside because there is Jordan Richardson just waiting right there as well.
I mean, who could blame him? We saw from lap number 1 what happens when it all goes a bit topsy-turvy. Little snag here and there as Kappa definitely showing himself in the rear view mirrors there of Richardson, saying, hello, I am here, and you do have to think about me as well, and rightly so, because he's come up trumps in this race. 9 positions gained for Alessandro. Really is doing a stellar performance here, and certainly could be more positions up for grabs as well. We'll also confirm, Ewan, we've done the wheel of, well, some call it the wheel of doom, some people call it the wheel of opportunity, but we've got 8 as our reverse grid, so all the way down to Alan Smith.
They've already made up that saying, by the way. It's called the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, yes. How silly.
Never mind. But yeah, okay. It gives to some and it takes from others, that's for sure. And Myron, you will. Sorry, I was so distracted by what you said before. You said 7, didn't you? You did say 7.
It's 8. 8. We've got 8.
Oh, 8. No, sorry, I wasn't listening. I was just distracted. Sorry, 8. Okay, fine. So not quite as many involved as we have seen in previous. I mean, it was bound at some point to be a lower number, wasn't it? The recent weeks we've had have been massive reverse grids, but it'll be a relief to some that it's not quite such a big grid this time.
Well, Matt Richards will be sighing breathing a sigh of relief, definitely, as he's in 7th position. He hasn't really closed that gap to the top 6 that ballast clearly hampering a little bit, but of course he'll be right back on that front row once again as it stands then, at least for race number 3. So he can then try and pick up that points, and of course then the reverse will happen for Tom Stevens. So we'll see how that goes. Of course Stevens will have his teammates in front of him, hopefully, to help him out. Equally though, he'll have the entire Power Max team there to hinder him.
Well, indeed, yes. That will be the problem. The roles reversed, some would say. Richardson down the inside of Kappa as he continues to try and hold on to a top 5 position here. And maybe this is going to help Richards get involved at the very end, but it might be just too little too late there. Over the line, very close again to another lap or not. I think we will get 2 more laps, though. Well, I can't tell whether Richardson will be liking that or not, because Richards might be able to catch up to Kappa if there is indeed 2 laps to go, including this one.
I feel like we're going to get 1 more, but like you say, that was super close to really call it. So look, well, we'll find out really as they go round Taylor's, the final corner. Tom Stevens has got a nice little healthy buffer to his teammate, who has also in turn got an even healthier buffer further back to Callum Wilson. I mean, you'd love to see it, really. Of course, Rafa Racing would absolutely adore to see it. Can Luke Mitchell get that final podium spot and make it a Rafa 1-2-3? I think we're going to get 1 more lap to find out.
It looks like it. Seconds to go, but just about enough time. Mitchell won't do it into turn 1. Neither will Kappa, but they're both going for it here. Mitchell on the outside at turn 3. He's got more space to make this work instead. It's like watching a mirror of itself there as Kappa looks to the outside of Richardson, and he's on the inside of Richardson there, just about. Wow, he was nearly there. He was so nearly there, but that might have been his chance gone now. Kappa's still going to get in the mirrors, but he's not quite going to get to 5th, is he? He looks to the inside of Richardson, who might have just got a little bit wide there in time for turn 6. And Matt Richards is right there now. In the meantime, Tom Stevens is going to go back to back. Nobody had done it before the Silverstone National race 2 weeks ago. Now Tom Stevens has done it twice. He wins race 1 and 2 on the same night. And meantime, Kappa might well get overtaken here for 5th place. Richardson and Richards working together. They can't quite get Richards in front, but Callum Wilson just about holds on in front of Luke Mitchell as well. Some close finishes in the end, but Matt Richards very nearly stole an extra point right at the death.
Oh, that was tantalisingly close there for a few of those drivers. Alan Smith will pick up that reverse grid pole as well, whether he knows it or not yet. Jordan Hyde, Trebek, Benton over the line. They'll be impressed and pleased with those results as well. Nice points for each of them. Kyle Benton there gained 13 positions from where he started in that race, all the way down at the back. So really impressive drive from him to get into P11, and he'll be hopefully looking to improve that even further in the final race.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey.
One final race to come. Goodness me, before the end of the day, but it is 2 wins in 2 for Tom Stevens. He wins in the what's going on here? This is not what the is this the race like 1 result? So
it is. Yes.
Is that race 1? Oh, it is. Yeah. Sorry. I don't mean to point out mistakes like that. That was a genuine one there. I wasn't mean. Tom Stevens indeed does win race 2, and he's come second as well. That's supposed to be Scott Mitchell. What's going on here? Something weird's happening here. Anyway, I could just tell you what the result was because it's still on my screen. Scott Mitchell-Marm was in second place ahead of Callum Wilson on the podium. Luke Mitchell then made it 3 wrappers in the top 4 in front of Jordan Richardson, who nearly managed to get Matt Richards past Alessandro Cappa, but not quite. They'll be involved in the reverse grid, but Alan Smith will be on pole. Jordan Hyde and Simon Trebek will round out the top 10. Carl Benson will get points, so will the recovering Cedar Vaya and Fraser Hart. Darren Wright and Matthew Williams get the final points. And the non-scorers, Stuart Rolfe, Colin Messina, Chris Grevitt, who only recovered to 18th after going off on that one. Dave Brewster and Jaroslav Fides running out the top 20. Alan Axon, Alexander Sarayman, Fabio Michelon, Olivia Krasnovska and Jordan Osborne. The last 2 of which, by the way, finished quite a few laps down. So it's rapper racing all over the front again, but perhaps more importantly, certainly in terms of the Drivers' Championship, it's Tom Stevens again. 2 out of 2 for him again. And that gap to Matt Richards will just start to close ever further. Matt Richards finishing in 7th place in that race. He has finished worse, so that will absolutely count, and therefore he loses another 11 points based on my maths, which is not 100% reliable, but I'm going to put it at 13 points at the moment between Stevens and Richards. That is less than half what it was at the start of the day.
I mean, it's tough to be the human calculator like Darren Thackeray, and so I think we'll let you off on that one because I'm
better than Darren. Don't give him that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, we do miss Darren sometimes here, but at the same time,
I don't.
Brilliant to have
here,
you alongside.
So.
Oh, well, exactly. I was going to say, I love having you here too. So definitely not complaining. But yeah, Darren, if you are listening, sorry, not sorry. But either way, we're moving on. And yeah, Tom Stevens massively closing in the championship. He'll be happy. Of course, Matt Richards now at the front, starting on the front row, we should say, with Alan Smith keeping him company, or Alan Smith on pole. Alan Smith also, final day of driving at a desk. So I wonder what he can do with that before he gets a nice actual sim rig for himself. So good luck out there, Alan. And final race on your desk. See what you can do and muster up. But equally, it's going to be an interesting one. Matt Richards looking like the favourite, of course, here for race 3.
Yep, he definitely say so. No weight on board, starting on the front row. But you never know what can happen in these races because, as we've just seen, strange things happen, especially early on, but throughout the race as well. So you can never say with absolute certainty what the result is going to be. You've got to say though that Richards has got to gain some points back. I think he will do. It's going to be hard for him to gain all of the points back, of course, that he's lost here so far today. 14 points lost to Tom Stevens already. If Richards wins the race and gets the fastest lap, so gets the most what he can, then Stevens needs to finish lower than 9th for Richards to gain points on the day. And to be fair, that's not impossible at all. He's got the biggest weight on board, don't forget here, Stevens, and he's got a starting position of 8th. Puts him right in the middle of the pack. So I don't think it's impossible at all for Richards to actually come out of the day with points gained over his main rivals.
Yeah, certainly not impossible, especially when you word it in that that sort of fashion. The one thing I'll give to Stevens is, I won't say veteran, makes him sound old, because I don't think he is by any stretch, as far as my knowledge is concerned. But he's certainly wise in that manner, and certainly knows how to take it, easy at the start of a race, make sure he can settle in, and then look to gain some positions. It didn't look like the ballast was as big of a hindrance as maybe we first thought, but I feel like it is still definitely going to be a bit of something that will come into play here, especially now he is in that sort of middle of the pack. But who knows?
I was going to say the opposite. I think Stevens's pace there was masked by his teammates because they were crawling behind him there and defending from him. I think the others were able to go faster there than it looked because of the way that they were defending and because they were all in for Stevens there effectively to go on and win this race. I mean, we'll see really in this next race, because to be fair, when Matt Richards was down the field, he was able to climb back through the field with 40 kilograms quite well. But I think we've got to remember there that the defensive driving from the Rapper Racing guys really meant that we didn't actually find out really what Tom Stevens' pace was at all there. And despite the fact he wasn't really defending because he had his teammates behind, we barely got that extra lap in. If you're at the end of the race, it was very similar to race 1, where he was defending a lot. So I think his pace was really quite slow actually in that second race, but his teammates did a good job of holding on to his position for him.
I mean, yeah, certainly does play into a factor in all of that. You are quite right. So we'll have to wait and see. This is the beauty of racing. It's the beauty of this kind of sport where you do have a weight ballast involved for those, prevailing on the night. And of course, it comes into effect. So, I mean, race 3, reverse grid, always throws a cap amongst those pigeons, and why would Knockhill be any different, particularly as we've seen some cars go on 2 wheels? I would imagine we'll see a few more do it.
We may well even see someone go on 0 wheels indeed and roll all the way over, but let's see. I mean, the start of race 2 was very chaotic, wasn't it, in terms of the action that we saw. I do find it somewhat unlikely the same is going to happen here, because I think part of race 2's problems was that the top contenders were all on top of one another at the start of what was a very important race. The top contenders aren't really near each other this time partly because of their problems in race 2, but also because of the reverse grid that sets up race number 3. So maybe it's going to be a little bit better this time round, or maybe because the field is so jumbled up, it's going to be just like before. But it's hard to see anybody but Matt Richards being the absolute favourite for this one, because he has got very good speed. As you said at the time, might have even been the quickest driver in race 1, and is now starting with no weight on board in the front row.
I think we could probably say without a doubt he was the fastest driver there in race number 1. And Tom Stevens, again, to his credit and praise, he just knew where to put that car and was able to defend it all the way to the end. And I think, yeah, like you say, race 2, he was sort of given a golden ticket almost, in that his teammate Mitchell Mann was able to just two-wheel his way through into second place. That's how it did end up being. And he was able to have that rear gunner and maybe mask a few of the issues with the weight. But maybe he was holding everything back because he knew that he was going to be in a good spot, and maybe that reverse grid pole was going to, maybe not bite him here for race number 3, but was going to make it trickier. So who knows, maybe he's still holding another, couple of attempts under his belt and just keeping it back. But we'll have to find out as they go round for their warm-up lap now for the final time this evening. Alan Smith will take top honours there.
Indeed, he will lead the field around for this final race of the day. He'll be on the front row, just in front of Matt Richards here for race 3, with Alessandro Cappa and Jordan Richardson then on row 2. Luke Mitchell and Callum Wilson on row 3. The Rapper Racing teammates has got Mitchell Marm and Tom Stevens on row 4, ahead of Jordan Hyde and Simon Trebek, rounding out the top 10. And the rest of them are where they qualified, or indeed where they finished, for the end of race number 2 before this final race of the day. So, yeah, it's going to be an exciting finish to the evening's proceedings. Matt Richards definitely the favourite, but are we going to see a surprise? Don't forget, he and Alessandro Cappa, based on what we saw in race 2, are best friends at the moment, after they had a little bit of contact 2 weeks ago. Had a little bit of contact in that previous race as well. And so Kappa's going to be very eager for Richards not to get away too far. And look at Kappa being aggressive there. He's showing his intent before this race even gets underway. He absolutely wants to get amongst it here. Let's see what he does though on the way towards turn 1. Richards has teammates around. Don't forget that Kappa doesn't have quite the luxury of. That's Jordan Richardson who's next in line, and Callum Wilson who's the one behind him. The PowerMax Racing drivers are all lined up on the outside together at the beginning of race 3. This is the 5th round of the Pro Touring Esports Championship here from Knockhill, and we're ready to go for the reverse grid race. Underway again, and from the outside of the front row for the 2nd race in a row, Matt Richards gets off to the best start, and he's got his nose in front into turn 1, and he dives into the lead as well. He's not making the mistakes of the previous race. He dives in front of Alan Smith, and he's in the lead here. Kappa wants to get into 2nd, and he gets to the inside of Alan Smith. As the car in the background, the top 10 or so get away cleanly. Kappa's into 2nd, Smith down to 3rd. The PowerMax Racing drivers 4th and 5th behind. Tom Stevens with another good start. He's up into 6th.
I was going to say, we talked about him maybe dropping down the order. He's gained 2 positions in those opening corners. Brilliant start, and the one he absolutely needed. Could still maybe pick up another one here. Down into turn number 9 of Taylor's. Round the outside, he goes then of Callum Wilson. He won't make it easy for him. Slams the door shut in his face. Tom Stevens, though, 6th position after lap number 1.
Yeah, and he's got his teammates behind him as well, so that's where the 2 positions have come from. I wonder whether that might have been coordinated. As much as you can coordinate the opening lap of a race like this, maybe that is too much to ask, but maybe that did play a factor as well, not sure. But we know that Stevens is not going to be re-overtaken by those guys, I wouldn't imagine, and so he might well have 6th place pretty much as a base level here to go off to the end of this race. 6th position gets you 10 points in this series, by the way, so that's a maximum drop of 11 to Matt Richards. Would give him a gain of points overall for the round, but of course it would lose him some for this final race, but he'd be expecting to lose some points, I would have thought. Here's Alan Smith defending from Jordan Richardson. Then it's Callum Wilson who is next in line. Alan Smith on pole here for this final race, but in a lofty position compared to where he qualified earlier on this afternoon, and so he's going to have to do a lot of defending here from guys who I think are a bit quicker than he is.
Certainly probably going to end up that way. Looked like he was struggling to pick a line there as they came out, as that's a lunge there from Stevens. Very opportunistic move then on Wilson as the pack concertinaed up behind Alan Smith, and Tom Stevens up into 5th position now, still climbing in this race. This could be very much the turning point, particularly in this championship for him, if he can keep the momentum up.
Yeah, maybe you're absolutely right that the ballast as well is not actually playing that much of a role right now. This, meantime, is Fraser Hart, who's gone nowhere so far. 2 laps wasted. Now he's going to get to the inside of Simon Tribeck, who's lost 3 places himself. But Fraser Hart is bleeding points tonight, and it's just not been a good start for 2026 for him. He's not finished inside the top 5 on more than once in an evening so far in the 2026 rounds of this championship. That is a bad return compared to the results he was having previously. He didn't finish outside of the top 5 at Donington, and he's won races along the way as well at Donington and Croft. This has not been the best start to the year for Fraser Hart so far. Tom Stevens is making the best out of this weighty car at the moment, getting in front of Callum Wilson there and into 5th position. He's just in front of Luke Mitchell now, is Wilson, and the Rapper Racing guys are all over him here. Wilson on the defensive, down in towards the final corner, and might well get run round the outside of completely here by Luke Mitchell. He's still there, is Mitchell, on the outside line, and he will get his nose in front now on the run down in towards turn number 1. Callum Wilson flashing the lights almost as if to say, go on through, I'll let you in. And Stevens and Mitchell move at 1 place.
Well, that all stemmed from Wilson getting it wrong out of Clark, got onto 2 wheels, and that just allowed Mitchell then the momentum to get close enough to mount that attack. Alan Smith still here in 3rd position, doing a brilliant job at defending for the time being from Jordan Richardson, and of course Tom Stevens there still in hot pursuit. Is this a chance here though for Richardson? Smith going defensive. He's going to have to do it the long way around the outside. He'll look to carry the momentum and speed as they come up over the rise onto the start-finish straight. I think that should be moved done. He squeezes Smith to the inside line. That's going to make him slow up for turn number 1. Really squeezing him there now. And that's Jordan Richardson, I believe, up into third. Not quite the contact. And they're still going at it side by side. Fifth, even more. And on the grass, he's round. Oh my God, he almost took Stevens.
He just about avoided him there, Tom Stevens. A bit of heads-up driving there. I'm not sure whether it was luck or judgment, but Tom Stevens gets away with it. And he's still in 4th position. Just about he survived. Alan Smith drops down the back of the field. Suddenly, Tom Stevens has got the gateway to the top 3 opened up in front of him now. Surely he can't get himself onto a podium after getting the most ballast of anyone. And it would be 3 podiums in one night for Tom Stevens if he were to get there. That's not been done by anybody before. He's managed 3 top 5s in one night. So has Matt Richards. Nobody has done 3 podiums. Stevens is 1 position away from that right now.
Oh, that really would be something. Here's that replay then. This is how close it was for Tom Stevens. Smith off onto the grass. We're going to get the slow-mo just about. Misses the nose. Oh, you do not want to cut it any finer than that. And Tom Stevens, oh, he's probably breathing the biggest sigh of relief after that one.
Yep, he probably is. I think he did see that coming, you know, and I think he did have the presence of mind to get out of the way of it. What is that car doing there? There's somebody without a rear wing back there with all sorts of damage. It looks like it could be Stuart Rolfe, who is getting back to pit lane rather slowly at the moment. There has been some incidents further down back in the pack. Meantime, Rafa Racing are all over this, and it's Callum Wilson who's feeling the negative effects. Wilson on the inside will hold on ahead of Mitchell Marm at least, but Luke Mitchell's now inside the top 5 again as well. And what a couple of weeks it's been here for Rafa Racing. Last time outscoring the other teams in the championship fight, Brabham Motorsport and Powermax Racing overall. Powermax, they outscored them by a very long way. Nearly 30 points gained last time out. They're not going to do that again, but they are going to gain again. Surely this is a remarkable performance so far in 2026 from them.
Really have. They've clearly been doing the work over the Christmas break, because they have started 2026 with an absolute bang, and of course both races that we have had, they really have been at the forefront of the point scorers, and once again, as well as Tom Stevens, you know, way up there. He was even before the Christmas break, but he really has come back after that period, and just seems to be, you know, he seems to have raised the bar for himself almost. And of course Matt Richards the one able to match it so far, but you know, those two really are absolute titans in this season so far, and I'm really hoping it goes down to the wire in that aspect, because you know, at the moment both of them worthy champions. We've still got a fair way to go in this championship and of course this race.
Let's have a look at what happened here to Fraser Hart, who's just not been having a good time of things so far tonight. Just the slightest bit of contact, then they get caught on one another, and they'll argue amongst themselves about whether the driver on the inside went in too deep or the driver on the outside turned in too early. But the underlying thing for Fraser Hart is that he is going to score very, very few points out of this round. He's not going to score any from this last race, and he's beginning to slip down the championship standings. And is he slipping out of contention for the driver's title? It's probably too early to call that, but he's certainly losing ground.
Well, you know, he came into this round having those, you know, effective race buffers in a way, because the point scorers that were being dropped off were not as low as his rivals around him. But now I think that's all been levelled out and squared up, because he's had a disaster here at Knockhill, particularly race 2 and 3. And so that, I think, is going to be pretty much a level playing field for him, Stevens and Richards, as they get further on in this championship. So, you know, you can look at it one way, you can look at it another. I mean, the way Fraser Hart's going to be looking at it is its missed opportunity tonight.
He will be absolutely looking at it like that at the end of today. Tidovaya, his teammate, has meantime got himself back involved again here. So decent recovery, decent points from him. He got a couple of points from, more than a couple actually, a few points from the second race rather. Certainly from the first race where he did okay. Now he's recovering rather rather nicely as well late on here. Richardson, a pig on the defence here of Tom Stevens, down in towards the final corner. Stevens still alongside, he is, and that's what he needed. He needed the exit, and maybe this is going to be 2 here for Richardson as Luke Mitchell goes to the other side. Tom Stevens pulls over the road. He gives his teammate the slipstream of Rafa Racing, taking 2 positions in 1 here. Through turn 1 they go, and it's Richardson who's on the outside for turn 3. Never the place to be, really. And Luke Mitchell's up to 4th. Remarkable from Rafa Racing. Their driving is just incredible at the in 2026. They're racing through the field once again here, and Tom Stevens is on the podium. Luke Mitchell's up to 4th place.
Oh, top-notch tactics from Rafa there again. My heart, I think, just leapt up into my mouth watching Stevens dart across the start-finish straight. I thought he might have done it too soon and almost went across the front of Richardson's car, but timed it to perfection, helped his teammate get by. And this for Tom Stevens is huge, because now he has a rear gunner again to the Power Max team. And of course, being on that podium spot, I don't think he's going to go any further up the road and get Kappa. The gap 8 seconds, but it doesn't matter. He's gained a huge chunk of points over Matt Richards tonight. All he has to do now is see that checkered flag, and he's got his teammate Mitchell helping him do it.
Absolutely. Forget about the top 2 for Tom Stevens. 3rd place is just enough. In fact, at the moment, I'm not sure what we're going to do about the fastest lap point, because the Richards and Kappa have got... fastest lap at the moment. Either way, without the fastest lap point, that's still a gain of 5, I think, for Matt Richards, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it would be. So he would get that back up to 18 points, but still less than 20 points, and a good day overall for Stevens if it holds. Meantime, further back, it's Chris Grevitt, who's gaining a lot of places for the 2nd race in a row, outside of Jordan Hyde. He's going to get the space here. Respectful racing between the 2 of them, in fact, in towards turn 3. Lots of space given. And they're going to lose a lot of time as a result, but Grevitt can't get the move done anyway. And Hyde indeed stays in 9th position in front of Chris Grevitt.
Might want to turn his lights on, as a few of the other drivers out there might want to do the same. It is actually starting to get a bit dark. You can see the lights really in full effect now on the front of these cars. If they don't turn them on, they may be under scrutineering for dangerous, effectively being in a dangerous manner as they go around the circuit. I don't know how that's going to play into effect, but potential DQs, but I think that's in the game that will be sorted like that. But either way, it is getting darker out there, Ewan. This might be something about it, because less references potentially, if it is darkened up in a certain part of the circuit, might make it a bit trickier for the drivers.
Yeah, you've absolutely got to make sure you don't get disqualified, for goodness sake. That's something that happens automatically. Better to just in the final race to flick them on and leave them there, because otherwise you will be, as I say, disqualified immediately from the game. So everybody is, for the most part, doing that. Time. Grevitt and Hyde again. Chris Grevitt on the inside stays in 9th, or rather gets up to 9th in front of Hyde. He gives a lot of room to Hyde on the exit there, though, and that allows Jordan Hyde to get a better exit onto the front straight now. Hyde in the slipstream and is not going to be able to get past in towards turn number 1. Carl Benton next in line as well from 11th position. Can't get involved either, so that's Grevitt up another position. A fair play to Chris Grevitt as well for continuing on here and gaining a lot of places in the last race of the day.
He's still in a championship fighting position, Ewan, so he's going to want to make sure he sticks in it, gets as many points as he can as well. It's all about the consistency. You're playing the percentage game. Of course, the guys that tip end of the sharp end of things, Stevens and Richards, their percentage game is going to be significantly higher, but it still comes down to, even if you can get that top 3, Babette is still very much in that fight, so he'll want to continue on and march forward and see what he can pick up.
Gap grows to 10 seconds now between Stevens and Kappa. Alessandro Kappa getting ever closer to Matt Richards at the front of the field. Haven't seen them yet in this race, but they've not been close together just yet. The gap only now dipping below a second, and maybe making Matt Richards, the race leader, just a little bit nervous at the front of the field. These are where the moves are likely to happen, although it's fallen into a similar pattern of the first few races, only for third place rather than first. Tom Stevens has been at the head of a train for a long time tonight, and maybe you were correct that the ballast is not having that much of an effect, because he's been able to work his way through to third in not very many laps actually in the end, and now he's defending much like he was before. So, and to be fair, he was defending in race 1 quite a lot as well, so maybe it wasn't his teammates protecting and shielding how unquick he was, and maybe it was indeed just the defensive shape that Stevens has taken up for most of these races now.
I mean, he's in a position again that he's familiar with. He's done this twice already, so what's another race, doing the exact same thing? Because once again, he's got a teammate behind him, and once again, he's just defending the maximum that he can gain out of this race, and fair play to him, because he's had an absolute stellar of an evening. Clearly, he's able to relish the Highlands here of Scotland. Not quite the Highlands, but you get what I'm saying. And he'll be lapping this up all the way to the end, and of course gaining in on Matt Richards as well in the championship. He'll be a very happy boy.
He certainly will. In time, in towards turn 1. Via on the outside of Mitchell Marm there, it was at least looking. They get down the inside at turn 3 from that distance though. Mitchell Marm gets up onto 2 wheels there through turn 3. A familiar pattern starting to emerge. Meantime, Matt Richards leads this race in front of Alessandro Cappa, but it's getting closer between the two. 6 minutes to go, and the two of them came to blows 2 weeks ago as well. Both of them will be desperate not only to win themselves, but to not let the other win. And Richards is flashing the lights as well. There's traffic in front of him here, which is never helpful to see when you're the leader, and they're not getting out the way towards before turn 1. There's going to have to be a dive there from Richards down the inside. Is it going to get in the way of Capper as well? The lap car maybe just a little bit, but the gap is closing. Richards will be getting a little bit nervous looking in that mirror now.
Certainly will do. I think they tackled that rather quickly and effectively, the pair of them, in all fairness. I mean, that's what you don't want to see coming up over the rise of Clark. A car in the gravel, almost backing it onto the racing line. Luckily didn't, but I think that definitely scared Richards, because look at the gap between him and Cappa. It's 0.2 of a second. Touch into Taylor's the final corner. Nudging him round is Alessandro, and the Italian here on the attack. And can he make a move here, potentially to turn 1?
Well, that was a show of intent, wasn't it? He was never going to actually make the move there, Capper, and he knew that, I feel. But he just wanted to say to Matt Richards, I am not going to let you win this race easily by any means. And, I mean, it will be in no doubt as to his feelings now, will Matt Richards. Another flash of the lights. This Toyota in front still not getting out of the way, though. I don't know who it is at the moment, I've got to say. It looks like, hearing it might be Stuart Rolfe, who is many laps down. He had a long repair earlier, and now is in behind these guys in any case. Richards gets through, maybe a little bit later than he would have wanted. He's now forced on the defensive from Alessandro Cappa, who's into his slipstream now. Up towards the start-finish line again. 4.5 minutes to go. We'll see how many laps remaining that ends up being, but Cappa in towards turn number 1. Applies the pressure again. Towards turn 3, is there a dive coming here? No, there isn't, but Richards feels the need to defend anyway.
Yeah, now up through the chicane. Look how close he is. They're both skipping and jumping their way through. This is the closest Capper has been this entire race onto the grass, trying to widen that circuit as much as he can, particularly the corner as well, to gain a nice sweeping arc through. I don't think that was enough to really close in on Richards there. 0.3 the gap still. That's going to be calming down just a second. That's not enough to send a lunge and a move, but look how close he gets under braking. Alessandro Cappa, all he needs is one little opportunity, and you can bet he's going to stick that car right where he needs to and try and take that lead away.
Meantime, further back, Cito Vaya still trying to get past Mitchell Marm, by the way, for 7th position. Not able to, even now. Looks to the outside again here, in towards the first corner. No, well, big slide from Mitchell Marm, and he stays ahead of Cito Vaya again. Just over 3 minutes remain, so not long at all now. But there's still chances to make overtakes, both here and at the very front of the field as well. think there will be 3 laps, maybe 4 laps actually to go when they get to the line here. Yeah, it will be 4 laps to go. This has actually been the quickest race, I think, so far of the 3. Richards still feeling the pressure, but Kappa hasn't, so far, to me, not shown any signs that he might be able to make a move.
He is relentless. He's a driver going back into a few series. You know, he's always been a quick driver. We know he can contend at the sharp end of a field. He's had a podium last time at Silverstone, and he's had a fantastic run of results here this evening at Knockhill, and he's just looking to hopefully add to that tally here in the final race. If he can even get to the top step, he'll be even happier, and he's certainly right where he needs to be to challenge for that, of course. And Matt Richards, he thought maybe, well, we both thought, Ewan, I think we thought he would have an easy run at this. Kappa had other ideas.
He is close in behind again here, Kappa, but not close enough. That's the distance he's been at, we've felt, for the entire race so far, really. In towards turn 1, bit of a slide over the top for him there. He might have a dive at turn 3, no. Richards defends rather nicely in towards turn 3 on this occasion. And up over the top of the hill, there is another lap car getting very close in between them. Look at Kappa there. Great run over the top there. As Richards has constantly defended into turn 3, it might have finally bitten him here because his run towards 6 wasn't so good. Now there's the lap car in the way that Richards is going to try and use. The lap car flashing the lights. And here comes Kappa. He goes left, he goes right. He's going to have to move on the outside now, the final turn. He makes contact with Richards. He's got in too deep though. The outside line is the place to be, but not if you run quite as deep as Alessandro Kappa did just there.
Oh, I tell you what, this man is so passionate in it. You can see it in his driving, the way he moves that car around. He's absolutely trying everything here. We're still going to get 2 more laps in this race. That's going to be a little bit of a mistake there for him. That'll drop him back slightly. We'll be hoping to gain that right back up though, and put the pressure right back on him, as this is back to that pack now, Ewan, from 3rd down, with Tom Stevens still leading it, as the Power Max team cars look like they're starting to race each other.
Yeah, they are. That's unusual to see. This group has maintained its positions really for a long time now, ever since Tom Stevens was able to get through and up into 3rd, with Luke Mitchell following behind. They've stayed as they are ever since then, really. Into the final corner they come, and there's 1 lap to go when they get to the end of this one. Kappa only 3 tenths behind indeed as they start this final lap. How desperate is he to win a race? He's only 2 tenths behind. He's gonna dive, is he? No, he just has a look down the inside. Richards will be so nervous looking in his mirrors at the moment. This is the last lap of the race. The last lap of our trio of races here at Knockhill. He bounds and bumps over the curbs. He's in the gravel. He runs wide. Kappa might have thrown it away there with a mistake through the chicane. He's just too far back, and Matt Richards, I think, is going to hold on here. Matt Richards, so far, already won 4 times this season, but he didn't win 2 weeks ago. He hasn't won, in fact, in any of the first 5 races of 2026. Kappa gives it everything, including diving into the final turn, but Matt Richards wins at Knockhill. A long time coming for the championship leader, who restores some of the lead lost over points here tonight. But Tom Stevens, who comes over the line here in 3rd, is within 20 points now of Matt Richards in this championship, which gets closer by the week. Tom Stevens with the best performance of any driver over a 3-race block, 3 podiums in 3 races at Knockhill here tonight.
Oh, what an end to that was. It's a shame for Kappa there. It all went wrong through the chicane. That's obviously cost him any chance into that final corner, but I thought we could have had a different winner here for the final race. It wasn't meant to be. Well done to Richards. A fantastic drive from Stevens. I think, to be fair to them, everyone can sort of give themselves a round of applause here, because the drivers this evening, it's not an easy circuit, Knockhill. It's one of the shortest circuits in Britain, indeed the world, I believe, as a professional circuit, and they all held their own very nicely. The lap cars got out of the way effectively, quick as they could, and yeah, brilliant results all around. Well done.
Absolutely. These are the final race results, so from the final race of the day. It's Matt Richards who wins in front of Alessandro Kappa in the end. Tom Stevens who rounds it off with 3 podiums out of 3 there as well. Luke Mitchell and Callum Wilson round out the top 5. Jordan Richardson, Scott Mitchell, Marmon, Sido Vi were in that group as well, though, don't forget. Chris Grevitt and Simon Tribeck round out the top 10. With the other point scorers, Jordan Hyde, Carla Messina, Matthew Williams, Alan Laxon and Fraser Hart there in the top 15. Outside the points, Jordan Osborne, Olivia Krasnodska and Darren Wright all got to the end. Alan Smith, I believe, got out again to complete some laps. So did Yasser Fiddes and Stuart Roth from what I saw. 10 laps down for Fabian Michelon and Carl Benton. Dave Brewster and Alexander Serema were a long way down in the end after retiring after just 5 or 6 laps. Well, it's a race win in the end for Matt Richards. Feels weird, doesn't it, to say that he is sort of breaking a bit of a duck there, but he hadn't won in any of the first 5 races in 2026. His last win was the last race of 25 at Thruxton in the reverse grid race there. He's now won another reverse grid race here at Knockhill instead. He's still taking some damage in points though. 18 or 19 points, I think, is going to be the gap, somewhere around there anyway. I wonder how he'll view this round, whether that's a job well done in terms of damage limitation, or whether he will recognise the fact that he's lost a third of his championship advantage today.
I think it's going to be both, if I'm being honest, Ewan. He'll look at this evening and he'll be disappointed because, I mean, race 2, of course, the biggest loss for him there. He recovered well, and you know, you mentioned there the damage limitation. That's why I think it's both, because he got the maximum of what he could with the cards he was dealt effectively tonight. But he'll still see it as a massive, disappointment for him, really, because he could have done better. He should have done better, especially in that second race. And so, he'll look at that one. He'll probably forget about it as quick as he can, because we know he's got the skill, the talent, everything's there, and he'll move on to next time out. But still, losing points, not what needed.
Absolutely. Just quickly looking forward to 2 weeks' time as well, and the next round of this championship from Alton Park. That being the only round from there, of course. After that, we go to Donington again, by the way, for the Grand Prix layout. Alton Park next round. Going to be interesting to see how that particular circuit goes. I think it could be quite similar to this circuit, really. It's got that big sharp hairpin, of course, not at the end of the layout on that occasion, but everywhere else relatively difficult to overtake. But I think it will be possible to overtake. Ballast will play a little bit of a role. The reverse grid race, as always, will play a little bit of a role. But once again, an important day, especially for those championship contenders again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I remember rightly, casting my mind back, Alton Park really was a fantastic circuit to go racing at. There was definitely overtakes to be made. Side by side as well is also possible around there. Of course, the circuit, the straights are a lot longer than it was here at Knockhill. And like you said, Ewan, they go into nice heavy braking zones, so you can definitely get alongside your rivals. So Alton Park's definitely going to be one to turn up for, just like it was today here at Knockhill, because it was a fantastic 3 sets of races we saw. I think we've got 3 on the bounce here. Silverstone, Knockhill, Alton Park should be absolute classics for this season.
It absolutely should be. So a big thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight once again for another round of the Pro Touring Esports Championship, this time from Knockhill. Been another 3 great races. Hope you've enjoyed them. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Ashley Denman with Rich Revel behind the cameras of this broadcast here tonight. We'll all be back in 2 weeks on the 8th of February for the next round of the championship, indeed. Round number 6, which will bring us to the 2/3 mark as this championship continues to hot up, but especially between Matt Richards and Tom Stevens. It's a goodbye from Knockhill. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time at Alton Park.